Good evening, everybody. It is 10 to 8, and it is time to begin this week's Stay In Virtual Pub Quiz. The bunting's still up, the street parties are over, so let's start heading inside to the Stay In. I'll go in, I'll get myself comfortable, and then the quiz will begin. I will see you in a moment. Bye. Good evening, everybody. Not quite sure what happened there. It all went a little bit wrong. A little bit of delay didn't work. Anyway, here I am, and good evening to everybody. Welcome to our VE Day edition of the quiz. Good to have you all logging in already. Just looking, up to 21 people logged in already. I know we are starting a few minutes earlier than the last few weeks because we want to get finished in time for the nationwide sing-song of We'll Meet Again, which is happening about 9 o'clock. Looking at the schedule on the BBC at the moment, I think the Queen is due to speak at 9, followed by We'll Meet Again with, I'm not going to tell you with who, that may be a question later on in the quiz. And then hopefully we'll be wrapped up by then, so you can all go and listen to the Queen and have a sing-song of We'll Meet Again. So yeah, it is our VE Day quiz. Thank you for coming out again to join me in the Stay In. I've got my Union Jack behind me. We made this earlier on with the children. They enjoyed that. Ready for our socially distant street party, which was absolutely amazing. I hope you have all had good days as well. I've been able to get outside and celebrate, we shouldn't say celebrate, should we? Commemorate the 75th anniversary of VE Day. Yeah, so we're going to aim to start the quiz at about 8 o'clock, so we've got just over 5 minutes. I know that quite a few people will be logging on. I can see the numbers going up. Got a little bit of a test question to get you started in these few minutes. So, just to get your brains in gear, while I was researching this quiz, I found out that during the Second World War, 3 European nations stayed neutral throughout. So do you know who the 3 neutral nations were during the Second World War? European nations, that is. Just something for you to ponder. I shall reveal the answers to you just before we begin. As always, we have a picture round that has been published on the Facebook page. So you can go onto that. If I put the contact details up on the screen, here we go. So it's, can't see that much tonight, can you? If I move this way, can you see that? Facebook.com/St Clear Quizzes. There's a picture round on there. I shall flash it up for a second. There you go. It's birthdays on the 8th of May. People and things who celebrate their birthday on VE Day. So yes, they're up there for you if you'd like to access them. If not, as usual, I will show them during the interval between rounds 2 and 3. Again, there's 9 questions on that bits round. Same as last week, purely because a 3x3 grid fits really nicely on the screen. To make up for it, there is a 2-point question coming up in one of the rounds to take us up to 50 points for the evening. So for those of you who haven't joined one of the Stay In pub quizzes before, we have 4 rounds, and the pitch round I've just mentioned. We'll take a little bit of break after the second round, and when we come back we mark the first 2 rounds before moving on to the 3rd and 4th rounds. It is a VE Day theme this week, as we are commemorating the 75th anniversary. So they are all VE Day themed questions. So the first round is about VE Day itself. The second round, I've played around with the order, so the second round is the Second World War in popular culture. So we're thinking about books and films, TV series. And after the break, we come back with a round called famous service personnel, so famous people who served during the Second World War. And then we finish off with round 4 is Second World War general knowledge, which is not your knowledge about famous generals in the Second World War, just random selection of questions all about the Second World War. So I think we've got a few minutes before 8 o'clock. Let's get some shout outs going, shall we? So let's see who's been leaving me messages on the live chat this evening. So good evening to Crumpets joining us again. We've got Matt Welsh again. Good evening, Graham. You've had some smoked trout for tea tonight, have you? Excellent. We had some smoked salmon. I think it was salmon we had, wasn't it, Maddie? Yes, thank you very much for that, by the way. It's lovely. And hello, what are you, the Lowdown Losers here again. Hopefully you're not losing every week, but thank you for keep on coming back. Here we've got the Woodhill Wonders are back again. Thank you for joining us. It's really good to see all of these names coming back week after week, becoming familiar with them as we do. Yeah, I've had some pictures being sent through of Bunting, Jane from Edinburgh, some lovely decorations around your house. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get pictures up during the interval this week because we're a little bit pressed for time if we want to finish by 9 o'clock for this sing-song. So if I get a chance I will do, but I can't promise anything this week. Hello to Malcolm, just signed in. Thank you for joining us yet again. So I make it just over a minute until 8 o'clock, so we'll begin then. If you would like to make sure that you have got yourself a drink, I've got my drink here. I've got some rhubarb ale, rhubarb flavoured ale or something, from Harbour Brewing. Different brewery this week. You may have seen me posting about it on the Facebook page. Tasting quite nice actually. So yeah, if you want to let me know what you're drinking, just use the comments and we'll see what everyone's tipple is this evening. Let's see how we're doing. Look on this screen. We're up to 42 logged on at the moment, which is excellent. A few more than last week. Thank you everybody who's new this week. Yeah, not long until we begin. Yeah, so I'm going to say, as I've said other weeks, I'm not forcing anyone to make a donation at all for joining in the quiz. It is just for fun, a little bit of light-hearted relief during these strange times, hopefully. It gives you something to enjoy on a Friday evening. However, if you would like to make a donation, then please feel free to donate to a cause that is close to your own hearts, rather than me dictating anything. But no pressure to do so because we're all in different financial situations at the moment. And of course, there is no winner apart from whoever has had the most fun. And the other thing that I always say is, of course, if you want to Google the answers, feel free, but you're only cheating yourself. Oh, here we go. We've got some drinks coming in. Crumpets. Oh, what's it? Whiskey sour this week. Oh, what type of whiskey have you got in there? I'm a big whiskey drinker myself. We were raising a glass of brandy during our street party earlier. Matt, Star City Double IPA. Sounds lovely there. We've got Helen. Oh, Slade Park Sinners. We're new here. Thank you very much for joining me for the first time. I hope you have a good evening here in the Stay In. Got more messages coming in. Oh, right. Lots of newbies logging in at the moment. Good evening, everybody. Oh, yeah, it's quite exciting new names coming up. Anyway, I'm making it 8 o'clock now. So I think we should begin with the quiz. You've probably had enough of me whittering on for the last 10 minutes. Keep the comments coming. I'll try and respond to some as we go if I get a chance. Yeah, so let's begin the Stay In VE Day quiz. I know some people have been a little bit nervous about what the questions might be. Hopefully they're accessible enough, and I have thrown in some nice easy ones to get you started, or I hope they're easy ones to get you started. Okay, so round one is our VE Day round. Question 1. What do the initials VE stand for? Question 1. What do the initials VE stand for? Question 2. It's a multiple choice one. You've got a choice of 7 here. On what day of the week did the first VE Day fall? On what day of the week did the first VE Day fall? I got 60 logged on at the moment, my other computers tell me. Thank you so much everyone for joining us. If you have just joined us, you can always rewind the live stream to get back to the start of the questions, but we've only done 2 questions so far. Question 3. Another nice one. Oh, he's just spilling a drink. Question 3. What type of decorations lined the streets on VE Day 1945? And they have lined the streets of St. Cleer today as well. So what type of decorations lined the streets on VE Day 1945? And thank you to everyone in St. Cleer who's made an effort. It looks beautiful with all of this up. Good evening, Pebbles. We got the comments working this week. Nice to see you. Pebbles were one of my regulars when I did the quizzes in the stags. It's always good to have them logging on. Question 4. Who was Britain's Prime Minister in May 1945? Who was Britain's Prime Minister in May 1945? Who's that commenting? Danny is new here and loving it. Thank you, Danny. It's great to have positive comments like that from our newbies. Question 5. Similar vein. Who was the British monarch in May 1945? Who was the British monarch in 1945? Good evening, Liz. Good evening, and the other Malcolm. Oh, you're Duds Army tonight, are you? Always love your team names, Malcolm. Question 6. So, VE Day didn't actually signal the end of the Second World War. Later on in the year, we will commemorate VJ Day. When is VJ Day? When is VJ Day, or Victory over Japan Day? Oh, good evening to my mum who has missed the first few questions. You can just rewind the stream if you want to hear the first few questions. But I had a few comments come through. I might just quickly read through the first few questions again if I get a few more comments saying you missed the early ones. Question 7. Who was the leader of Germany when they surrendered in May 1945? Who was the leader of Germany when they surrendered in May 1945? Up to 67 logged on. I think this may be a record this evening, so thank you very much everyone who is joining us. Question 8. How many times did the royal family appear on the balcony at Buckingham Palace on VE Day? How many times did the royal family appear on the balcony at Buckingham Palace on VE Day? The only clue I'll give you is it is a single figure. Okay, question 9. The US president at the time of VE Day, he actually celebrated his 61st birthday on VE Day itself. Who was he? So the US president at the time celebrated his 61st birthday on VE Day. Who was he? And finally in this round, it's been amazing to hear all the stories of how people celebrated. We learnt today that one of our neighbours went to the pub and hitched a lift home on a milk float after the celebrations ended, which is lovely to hear. But the young Princess Elizabeth, our queen at the moment, she was allowed out of Buckingham Palace to celebrate on the streets of Whitehall with the crowds. Which other member of the royal family was allowed to join her? So Princess Elizabeth, our current queen, was allowed out of Buckingham Palace to celebrate on the streets of Whitehall with the crowds. Which other member of the royal family was allowed to join her? Let's have a look through these comments. I'm going to very quickly rattle through the first few. I'll go through the first 5 questions again, judged on when people have logged on and some of the comments I'm getting. So the first round, the first question, what do the initials VE stand for? Question 2 was, on what day of the week was the first VE Day celebrated? Question 3, what type of decorations lined the streets on VE Day? Question 4 was, who was Britain's Prime Minister at the time? And question 5 was, who was Britain's monarch at the time? I think that was the last time that I had a comment saying you'd missed some. But please shout if you have missed any, or as I said, you can rewind the stream there. So I'll give you a moment or two to just settle on any answers, settle any arguments about who is going to be right or not, and then we'll move on with our next round. Sorry if you're used to me going a little bit slower than this. Like I said, I'm conscious of this sing-along that we're going to be joining in with, or hopefully you will be. I'm not going to be singing live. I'm sorry if you're expecting Gary Barlow to pop up as he did in another quiz yesterday. I haven't got any celebrities, I'm afraid. Ah, Jane, good evening. Oh, a bit of a delay on your team, is there, Jane? Okay, not to worry, I'm sure you can sort it out. So, let's move on to round 2, shall we? So this is all about the Second World War in popular culture. So we're talking about films, books, TV series which link to the Second World War in some way, shape or form. And we're going to start off with a 2-point question. There are 2 answers, each worth a point. So round 2, question 1. Steven Spielberg has only ever won 2 Best Director Oscars, and both of them were for films set in the Second World War. Can you please name the 2 films? So Steven Spielberg has only ever won 2 Best Director Oscars, and both of the films were set during the Second World War. Please can you name the 2 films? Oh, just one. Nothing would work for you. I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad you're here now. We've just started round 2. Question 2 in this round. Published in 2005, Australian author Marcus Zusak wrote about a thief of what? So published in 2005, Australian author Marcus Zusak wrote about a thief of what? I believe it's also been made into a film. Question 3. Which actor starred in the 1998 TV adaptation of Goodnight, Mr. Tom? Which actor starred in the 1998 TV adaptation of Goodnight, Mr. Tom? Just one. You should be able to just go back in the stream if you want to hear the round 1 questions at some point. And it should just roll from there. Question 4. According to the title of the film directed by David Lean, which river had to be bridged during the construction of the Burma Railway? According to the title of the film by David Lean, which river had to be bridged during the construction of the Burma Railway? Oh, Maddie's muttering. I don't know why she's muttering. Question 5. Which 2019 BBC drama, starring Sean Bean, followed the lives of ordinary people from Britain, Poland, France, Germany and the USA during the Second World War? So which 2019 BBC drama starring Sean Bean followed the lives of ordinary people in Britain, Poland, France, Germany and the USA during the Second World War? Question 6. Which popular sitcom set in the Second World War was based in Wilmington-on-Sea? Which popular sitcom set during the Second World War was based in Wilmington-on-Sea? Question 7. What was the name of the 2009 BBC drama that told the story of Nancy, Joyce, Bea and Anne as they started their new working lives at Pasture Farm? What was the name of the 2009 BBC drama that told the story of Nancy, Joyce, Bea and Anne as they started their new working lives at Pasture Farm? Question 8. Who was the title character in Sebastian Faulk's 1999 novel about a female spy sent to France during the Resistance? Who was the title character in Sebastian Faulk's 1999 novel about a female spy sent to France during the Resistance? It's another one that's been turned into a film. Very conscious of the time tonight. A bit more pressured having a 9 o'clock finish. Question 9. Which sitcom told the story of a French cafe owner during the German occupation of France? Which sitcom told the story of a French cafe owner during the German occupation of France? Oh, brain not in gear here, Graham. I know you weren't looking forward to some of the rounds this evening. Oh, there goes our dodgy light again, for those of you who watched last week. It's alright, you can still see me, I think. And question 10 in this round. What was the title of John Boyne's novel, which was later turned into a film, about a German child who befriended a child in a concentration camp? What was the title of John Boyne's novel, which was later turned into a film, about a German child who befriended a boy in a concentration camp? So there we go. I've just realised, for those of you who logged on early, I gave you a test question, didn't I? I never told you the answer. So there were 3 countries who stayed neutral in Europe throughout the Second World War. They were Switzerland, Spain and Sweden. So if those of you who logged on early were thinking about that question, Switzerland, Spain and Sweden stayed neutral throughout the Second World War. Anyway, that draws to an end our second round. So we've had 2 rounds so far. As usual, I've timed my beer, so I'm just ready for a top up. I'll have a quick interval, 5 minutes or so. I'm going to pop on your picture round. It's the birthdays, so it's people and things who celebrate their birthday on May the 8th, WWII Day. I'm going to turn my microphone off, put the picture round up, and when I come back we'll go through the answers to those first few rounds. Keep the comments coming on the live chat, and I will speak to you again in a few moments. Here comes the picture round. Okay, I'm back. I'm just speaking to you. I'll leave the pictures on there for a moment. Malcolm questioning Ireland being neutral during the Second World War. Although they had an official policy of being neutral, they did help out with securing trade routes for the Allies, and they helped out with military intelligence as well, although that was unpublished at the time. It has since been released. I did double check this because I thought Ireland was neutral as well. I didn't want another Spain, Gibraltar, Morocco incident like last week. But yeah, you learn something new every day. I learned that when I was setting the quiz. So yeah, I'll leave the pictures up just for another few moments before we go through the answers to the next rounds. Rounds 1 and 2. Hope everyone has had a chance to visit their virtual bar and their virtual facilities during that break. So I'm going to take the pictures away now so we can go through the answers to round 1 and 2. Here I am. That flag did fall down on me as I went to get my beer propped back up there. So, answers to round 1. The initials VE stand for Victory in Europe. Question 2. The first VE Day was celebrated on a Tuesday. Question 3. The decorations that line the street was bunting. Again, thank you to everyone in St. Cleer who has decorated the village. Question 4. Britain's Prime Minister was Winston Churchill. Question 5. Britain's monarch was George VI. Question 6. VJ Day is on August the 15th. Question 7. The leader of Germany when they surrendered was Grand Admiral Karl Donitz. Hitler had committed suicide at the end of April when he took interim control. Question 8. The royal family appeared 8 times on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Question 9. The US president who celebrated his 61st birthday on VE Day was Harry Truman. He'd only just taken over from Roosevelt. And question 10. The other member of the royal family allowed out onto the streets was Princess Margaret. And then we moved on to our Second World War in pop culture round. So the 2 films that got Steven Spielberg a Best Director Oscar were Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. Point each there for you. Question 2. Marcus Zusak wrote about The Book Thief. Question 3. It was John Thor who starred in Goodnight Mr. Tom. Question 4. The river that needed to be bridged was the River Kwai, which isn't the actual bridge, as Maddie has told me many times.
That river.
Pardon? It's not over the River Kwai, the actual bridge. There you go. Question 5. The 2019 BBC drama was World on Fire. Question 6. The sitcom set in Wilmington-on-Sea was Dad's Army. Question 7. 2009 drama about Nancy, Joyce, B and Anne and their new working lives on Pasture Farm was Land Girls. Question 8. The title character in Sebastian Falk's book was Charlotte Gray. The sitcom about the French cafe owner was Allo Allo. And the title of John Boyne's book was The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. And there you go. If you want to send a message on the live chat about how you're getting on, please feel free to. Normally a mixed bag of comments I get. Let's see how we're doing. We're still hovering around 50-60 viewers, which is excellent. Thank you all for joining us. And we've got, I make it 28 minutes until we have to finish, which I think we should get through these rounds in. So our third round is famous armed service personnel. So all of the answers are famous people who served in some capacity during the Second World War. So, oh, well done, Helene, who's got 15 in total so far. Thank you. Question 1 in round 3. Which children's author, creator of Charlie Bucket, was a fighter pilot and an intelligence officer for the RAF? So which children's author, the creator of Charlie Bucket, was a fighter pilot and intelligence officer for the RAF during the war? Danny's got 13, the Smith family have got 15, well done. Graham 6 and 7, so 13 for you there as well. Good scores coming in. Question 2. Which astronomer initially joined the Home Guard and then lied about his age in order to join the RAF at the age of 16? Which astronomer initially joined the Home Guard and then lied about his age in order to join the RAF at the age of 16? Question 3. Which renowned female aviator, the first to fly solo from England to Australia, served in the Air Transport Auxiliary Service before her plane crashed into the Thames in 1942? So which renowned female aviator, the first to fly solo from England to Australia, served in the Air Transport Auxiliary Service before her plane crashed into the Thames in 1942? Question 4. Which actor, star of countless Hammer horror films, initially volunteered to fight for Finnish forces before then joining the RAF? So which actor, star of countless Hammer horror films, initially volunteered to fight for Finnish forces before joining the RAF? It's not cider I'm drinking, Danny. It's I've actually switched now. It's another one from Harbour Brewing. It's a mango pale ale. Yeah, quite nice actually. Thank you for encouraging me to have another sip there. Question 5. Before founding Playboy, who began his journalistic career as part of a journalistic team for a US Army newspaper? Before founding Playboy, who began his journalistic career as part of a team of journalists writing for a US Army newspaper? Question 6. Which baseball player, who is mentioned in the lyrics of a Simon and Garfunkel song, enlisted for the US Army but never got called into active service? Instead, he was retained as a PE instructor. So which baseball player who is mentioned in the lyrics of a Simon and Garfunkel song enlisted for the US Army but never saw active service? Well done, Mum. Got 15 on the first half. Question 7. Which member of the royal family served as part of the auxiliary territorial service? Which member of the royal family served as part of the auxiliary territorial service? Question 8. Which footballer, who is the oldest to play for England, the oldest to play in the top flight of the English Football League system, and the only player to have been knighted while still playing, served in the RAF during the Second World War? So which footballer, the oldest player to ever play for England, the oldest player to play in the top flight of the English Football League, and the only player to be knighted while still playing, served in the RAF during the Second World War? Light's going very strange tonight. Started looking a bit blue on the screen then. Question 9. Before telling us in 1966 that the crowd are on the pitch, who was originally a highly decorated bomber pilot? Before telling us in 1966 that the crowd are on the pitch, who was originally a highly decorated bomber pilot? And finally in this round, which author, creator of the world's most famous fictional spy, played a central role in naval intelligence during the Second World War? Which author, creator of the world's most famous fictional spy, played a central role in naval intelligence during the Second World War? And that brings an end to our third round. Probably the hardest round in the quiz, I think. The next round is hopefully a bit easier, which is our World War II general knowledge. Let's give you a moment before I start reading out the questions to round 4. Oh, Maddox's trying to join in the quiz, is he? Maddox being my parents' dog. Right, shall we move on with round 4, which is our World War II general knowledge. So a mixed bag of questions about the Second World War. Question 1. Who was the British Prime Minister at the outbreak of the Second World War? Oh, the lights are back on for round 4. Who was the British Prime Minister at the outbreak of the Second World War? So I keep seeing my eyes flicking up. It's because we've got the teddy on to check when we need to sing along and watch the Queen. Question 2. The invasion of which country prompted Britain to declare war on Germany? The invasion of which country prompted Britain to declare war on Germany? Question 3. In which French region did the D-Day landings take place? In which French region did the D-Day landings take place? Question 4. What was the name of the German Air Force during the Second World War? What was the name of the German Air Force during the Second World War? Like I said, hopefully this round's a bit easier to counterbalance the last round, which I thought was the hardest. I'm looking at Maddie. Was the last round the hardest? Not sure.
Pictures might be the hardest.
Pictures might be the hardest, okay. Question 5. There's a memorial statue close to St. Paul's Cathedral, which commemorates the 997 members of which service that died during the Blitz. So there is a memorial statue close by to St. Paul's Cathedral, which commemorates the 997 members of which service who died during the Blitz. Question 6. The bombing of which naval base prompted the US to join the Second World War? The bombing of which naval base prompted the US to join the Second World War? Yeah, we all chipped in with the flag, Dad. It's on one of our boxes from one of the kitchen doors. Yeah, so they helped to paint it. Kian got a little bit heavy-handed with some of the colours. We had to paint over it again. We had red in the blue sections and white in the red and all over the place, but we got there in the end. Question 7. Which mathematician is credited with developing a device which could decipher the Enigma code? Which mathematician is credited with developing a device which could decipher the Enigma code? He never got the recognition he deserved. At the time, anyway. Okay, question 8. In which year did the Second World War begin? In which year did the Second World War begin? 2 questions left. So, question 8. In which year did food rationing end following the Second World War? In which year did food rationing end following the Second World War? And our final question, because we're going to go off and sing in a few moments. Which British singer was famous for wartime songs, including We'll Meet Again? Which British singer was famous for wartime songs, including We'll Meet Again? Okay, so that is the end of round 4. Well, we've just got the answers to go through, and I make it 10 minutes before our 9 o'clock deadline. So what I shall do is I shall pop up the picture round just for another minute, in case you would like to revisit that. And then I'll come back with the answers to the picture round and rounds 3 and 4 for you. So here come the pictures. I'm going to mute my microphone. Okay, I am back. We'll go through the answers in a moment. Just got a little request, actually. We'll be doing the quiz again next week, but I need some volunteers from people who have done the quizzes and enjoyed them to get in contact with me for a secret mission ready for something that's going to happen during next week's quiz. So I'll put the contact details up in a bit, but if you'd like to join in with a bit of a musical interlude, shall we say, please get in contact with me, and I can pass on details of what's going to happen next week. It'd be really nice if we get a few people involved. I'll remind you of that before we go. Anyway, let's go through some answers before our 9 o'clock deadline. So I've got on here 9 people or things which celebrate their birthdays on the 8th of May. So Chris is going to do it as he lives. Excellent. So I'm going to go through the answers from 1 to 9. So here we go. Let me reveal the answers for you. So number 1 is a rapper called 6ix9ine. Number 2 is Jack Charlton. Number 3 is Paramount Pictures. Number 4 is David Attenborough. Number 5 is the Thames Barrier. 6 is Enrique Iglesias. 7 is Gary Glitter. 8 is Vicky McClure of Line of Duty fame. And 9 is Coca-Cola. There's your picture rounds. So let me just get my ugly mug back on the screen. There we go. And I'm going to put the contact details on the bottom there. If you want to join in with the secret mission, Chris, thank you for signing up. Or thank you, Liz, for signing Chris up, I should say. stclearquizzes@gmail.com, or the Facebook page is facebook.com/stclearquizzes. Yeah, just get in contact, and yeah, hopefully we can pull something together by next week. Yes, so let's go through the answers to round 3, which was the famous armed service personnel. So question 1, the children's author, who was a pilot and intelligence officer, was Roald Dahl. Question 2, the astronomer who lied about his age to join the RAF was Patrick Moore. Question 3, the female aviator was Amy Johnson. Question 4, the actor who initially volunteered to fight for Finnish forces before joining the RAF was Christopher Lee. Great actor. Question 5, before finding Playboy, it was Hugh Hefner who started his career writing for a US Army newspaper. 6, the baseball player who enlisted for the US Army but never saw active service was Joe DiMaggio. Mentioned Mrs. Robinson. Question 7, the member of the royal family who served as part of the auxiliary territorial service was Princess Elizabeth, our queen. Question 8, the footballer, the oldest to represent England and all those other records he had, was Stanley Matthews. Question 9, before telling us that the crowd are on the pitch, Kenneth Wolstenholme was a highly decorated bomber pilot. And the author who played a central role in naval intelligence was Ian Fleming, of course, creator of James Bond. And round 4, which was our general knowledge about World War II. Question 1, the British Prime Minister at the outbreak of the war was Neville Chamberlain. Question 2, the invasion of Poland led to Britain declaring war on Germany. Question 3, the French region in which D-Day took place was Normandy. Question 4, German Air Force was the Luftwaffe. Question 5, the memorial statue close to St. Paul's is a memorial to the 997 members of the fire service who died during the Blitz. It's the National Firefighters Memorial. Question 6, the naval base that was bombed was Pearl Harbor. Question 7, the mathematician who developed a machine for deciphering the Enigma code was Alan Turing. Right. Question 8, Second World War started in 1939. Question 9, food rationing ended in 1954. And the singer famous for wartime songs, including We'll Meet Again, was Vera Lynn. So there we go. That concludes all of the answers for this week's quiz. I reckon we have 2 minutes before 9 o'clock there, although my stream is a little bit ahead of yours, so you may only have 1 minute. So if you want to send through some scores, that would be lovely. So yeah, thank you all very much for joining in our special VA Day edition of the Stay In pub quiz. We'll be back next week, unless Boris says the pubs are open by next Friday. Lights are gone again, but I can't see that happening, so presume we are back next week. Please get in contact if you'd like to help out with our musical interlude next week at stclearquizzes@gmail.com, or through the Facebook page, facebook.com/stclearquizzes. I must say we got up to 100 likes this week, on the Facebook page, which is amazing. We only had 30 at the start of lockdown, so we've gone up. It's over 70 so far. So thank you to everyone who is joining us. Lots of good scores coming in. 37s, 38s. Liz is improving every week. 42 for Anne. Well done. Yeah, really good scores coming in. So thank you. Last week I asked for lots of themes that we could do this week because we settled on VE Day for obvious reasons. Next week, I think we are going to go for mascots. So have a little mascot with you, whether that be your favourite teddy, a lucky blanket or whatever. But have a mascot with you next week, and you'll send in pictures of your lucky mascots during the quiz. So yes, thank you all so much for joining in. I am expecting the Queen on the telly any moment now, so she is far more important than I am. So all I have left to say is thank you, cheers, good night, and I hope you come back to stay in on next Friday evening. Enjoy the sing-along of We'll Meet Again with Vera Lynn. Here we go.